then. Okay, next question is from Sybil.
Oh.
A few areas, she says, they all come down to time and overwhelm. So there's a question around, I think it sounds like she's got clients, but she's not feeling sure about pricing, the time per commitment and project, and boundary setting. So I'll pause there and see if you've got thoughts on that.
Oh man, that was like 5 questions.
That's only number one.
My gosh. Okay. Well, that's 5 questions in one. So I don't. Is there another question that seems more clearly formed there? Or should we stay with that? So just a note to everybody watching: write your questions good. Make it clear and easier for us to read, because we're probably just going to try to contend with this first part, and we're not going to get into the other parts then. So get clear with the most.
Sorry to interrupt. I think maybe the third one that it sounds to me, so maybe I'll just give you the overview of both of the second two, because they seem to be similar. It's about time management, and number 2 is about not having time to do my website and marketing material when I'm already starting to help clients. And number 3 is about, she says, dealing with competing life priorities, being a chronically ill mum while feeling urgency to bring in the dough. So it's all around priorities.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's hard. First of all, being a chronically ill mom while trying to run a business, that's just hard. There's no sugarcoating that. That's difficult. And let's start with this as a premise. You always have time for what's most important to you. Always. You always have time for what's most important to you, if you know what's most important to you. So, yeah, if other things than your business are more important to you, then that's what you'll do. And that's what you should do. There's no castigating here. I'm not chastising. I'm testifying. That's what should be done. If you want to make more money, here's the real secret. This is the bottom line. If you want to make a lot more money, the most important thing is you have to make it a priority. Period. That may sound like I'm saying you should make it a priority. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that's what it takes. And money may not always be the top priority. And thank God, because life is full of other things, and kids, and dealing with illness. There's other things that are going to be much more important to us. And yes, we need money for the things. So this is just the difficulty of being human. I can't solve this for people. The question of what's most important to you, that's your question. I can't answer that for you. This is one of the hardest questions of being human, is that at any moment trying to decide what matters most to me. I mean, God, isn't life full of very difficult choices like this? Well, what matters more to me, making money or my health? And for how long? And what is it right now? And who matters more to me, this person or this person? There are choice points in life where you just have to decide, and you've got to make a call and pick a side to stand on. And so I can't give an answer to it. But what I might suggest is, this is, of course, where somatic work can be very helpful. That your body probably has a lot of wisdom that your mind doesn't. And in my experience, when you think about things happening or not, if your body's like, relaxes, that's a good sign. As the Chinese proverb goes, stress is who we think we should be. Relaxation is who we are. And so it's good to track our body and maybe get some help with that, in terms of just paying attention to what's most important to us in any moment. Things that will get in the way of that, a bunch of shoulds of how it should be or shouldn't be, not helpful. This thought like, I should be further ahead in my business, not a helpful thought, and not true if we really probably look at the reality of it. But also people pleasing, boy, you're not going to be able to hear any of your conscience or inspiration or intuition if you're in people pleasing. And yes, it's hard, but also, and there's limits. Let's just say that too. There are limits in life. There's such a thing as too late. There's such a thing as too much. There's such a thing as you just can't take on anything else. And there is such a thing as surprising ourselves with what we come up with. So much of our life, I mean, I got this from Tony Robbins, that the quality of our life is often the result and a reflection of the quality of the questions we ask ourselves. So if you're asking a question like, how can I survive? Or how come it's so hard? Or why don't people love me? Or why does everyone treat me as a wounded bird? Or why don't I have time? And those are just dead-end questions. But if you ask a question like, how can I, as a chronically ill mother, build a thriving, successful business while taking care of my kids and enjoying the process? The answer may not come right away, but you might be amazed at what comes if you're willing to just keep sitting with that question, like, how could I? How could I? Because the mind is not a searching mechanism, it's a finding mechanism. You will find things if you ask the right question. I'm not saying the full answer, because again, there's limits, but you will find something. And this isn't a panacea, but what I'm saying is best fighting chance. Maybe we could say that. It stacks the odds more in your favor. If you're in a hard situation and you throw a pity party and it's just, not that you don't deserve empathy. I mean, dear God, life is hellish sometimes. But if you're in that situation, you want to get out. Okay. If you start asking yourself, why is life so hard? The odds are not in your favor. But if you say, okay, this is hard and it's unjust, and that's probably true, and it's unfair, and a lot of it probably isn't your fault. If you're chronically ill, that probably wasn't you. That's probably the excesses of industry showing up in your life. Various levels of poisoning or malnutrition, or and if it wasn't you that got poisoned, maybe your grandparents, and that's what's afflicted you, and trauma. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. It's not you. So it's unjust and it's unfair, and that's true. And what are you going to do? If it's going to be the victim thing, not much going to happen. But if you say, which I don't hear in the question, by the way, I don't hear a victimhood, but just in general, if we can focus on what do we want instead of not what we don't want, and fear what we have instead of what we don't have, it just gives us more resources and more resourcefulness to be able to handle the real troubles, which I hear in the question. I mean, I was raised by a single mom, my brother and I, and very hard for her. Very hard. So it's not, this isn't all roses, but there's more possible, I think, than we often think there is. Yeah. Betty, any thoughts?
Yeah. About prioritizing, I was wondering about the 80-20 rule, Ted.
Yeah, right. There's 20% of the things you can do that'll get you 80% of the results. And sometimes we just have to let go of any perfectionist streak we got and say, okay, I can't do everything. I can't even respond to everybody. I got, this much energy every day. I'm chronically ill. This is all I've got. So then, efficiency. Oh, this is the other thing I was going to say. I'm glad you pointed that out. Right. We got to be efficient. We got to be extraordinarily effective. The less energy and bandwidth you have, the more important that is. So you got to really hone in on what matters most, what's going to get the most results. You can't fritter the time away on a bunch of tactics that might work, might not. You want to stay with old reliable. And also, if you're really in a crunch, you just don't have much time or money, focus. You just got to focus. And this is particularly on the niching thing. You got to just stop being everything to everybody. You just pick, okay, what's the role I want to be known for? What's the work I want to do? Who do I want to help? And if you need money, right, there's these two dynamics in niching. If you search on YouTube, just search Tad Hargrave, artist and entrepreneur. There's a few videos about this, and it's in my ebook, The Niching Nest. But the artist starts with what do they want to do, and later they figure out who is it for. The entrepreneur starts with who's this underserved target market, what's an unmet need, and then they think, what would I create? Different starting points. If you're in business, there's a never-ending tension between the artist and the entrepreneur. I mean, our business, it becomes the marriage of them, and you need both of them in a business. And you need these two for a marriage. And the tension never goes away. It's not like you marry somebody and it's like, everything's easy now. The hardness is still there, but there's something you can create together that you couldn't have created apart, hopefully. So we need both, but you got to know who to lean on. Like in a marriage, okay, you're good with the finances and you're really good with directions. And so in different situations, you lean on different people. Oh my God, you're good with the people, and can you do that thing? And I'm good with the spreadsheet, so I'll do this. And so the artist, what they're good at is innovation and new things and experimenting and coming up with stuff nobody's ever seen before, which could be a huge breakthrough, which in the long term could do very well for you, give you an original voice. The strength of the entrepreneur is money. They know where the money is. They see opportunities that people would pay for. So if you're in a crunch, number one, focus, really hone the niche. Number two, lean on the entrepreneur side more. And the entrepreneur, again, is always, and this is connected to the niching, who's the underserved target market? Who is it that has a problem that is really painful that they would pay good money to get solved? And you laser focus on that and delivering on that. And then, you bring the artist in to help the entrepreneur. But in this case, the entrepreneur is taking charge and the artist is like, great, okay, we're going to do this. How can we do it as creatively and beautifully as possible? But you lean, the leadership in that case is with the entrepreneur, and the artist is in the back. Now, when things open up and it's a bit more spacious and you got more room to breathe, and you can have the artist lead, and thank God, because you may come up with something that's so brand new and interesting that's not derivative and a knockoff and a ripoff. Yeah. But those are some more thoughts.